One of the things that we are very excited about for this Sunday is that this Sunday is our annual meeting Sunday. Now, if you remember, most of the time our annual meetings are held back in May before the end of our church year on May 31st. However, this has been an unusual year in many ways, and so we had to originally postpone our annual meeting, and so we are holding that today. We are going to be hearing a report of the various ministries and from their ministry leaders. We're so thankful for all of their service. We're thankful for the ways that God continues to be faithful even in the midst of these unusual days. So we'll be looking back at God's faithfulness over this last year and looking forward with anticipation to what God is going to do in the coming days in the life of St. Paul's Church of the Nazarene. All of these reports are going to be available. I'm going to send them out via email. If you are watching online and you would like a physical copy of those, I would be happy to get them. So if you'll just reach out to me, I would love to get you a physical copy of these reports so you can read through them. I'm not going to go through every detail of each report. We're just going to share a few highlights and celebrate our ministry leaders. Well, we're going to begin with our annual pastor's report given by Pastor Levi and I. This is actually our first annual pastor's report, and it is our privilege and honor to be able to submit this to St. Paul's Church of the Nazarene. Over the last year, it's almost been a year since we've been here. It's hard to believe. We came in August of 2019. And over the last year, one of our priorities in ministry was to get to know all of you, to get to know the ministry of St. Paul's, to get to know what you have already been doing in your community for some time now. We know that St. Paul's has a rich history of being a wonderful and loving church, and we wanted to get to know just what it was about St. Paul's that was so beautiful and find out the ways that we could partner with you in this mission that God has given you in these neighborhoods and in this community. We've learned several things about you over the last year. I want to highlight just 4 that have really stood out to Pastor Levi and I. The first is that we have learned that St. Paul's is a generous people. We have seen this time and time again over this last year, whether it be in giving of your time, your talents, your tithes and offerings. We have seen your generosity, and we are so thankful that you are such a generous people. The second thing is that you have a great gift for hospitality. Whether it's welcoming visitors, welcoming in guest missionaries, welcoming in friends or family, whoever it might be, you have a beautiful gift of welcoming people really well into this place, into this space, into your lives. You do that so very well, and we are so thankful for that. We've also learned that St. Paul's is a loving community. You love one another very, very well. And we've seen that in the midst of these last days of pandemic. We've seen the ways that you have sent cards to one another, you have called one another, you have stayed connected, you have checked in on one another. You genuinely just love being with one another. And we are so thankful for the love of Christ that we see tangibly expressed in your lives. And the last thing is that we have learned that St. Paul's has a love for food. So much of our time together revolves around the table, whether it be breakfast before Sunday school or potlucks or celebration dinners or Christmas dinners, whatever the occasion, we gather around the table, which is such a beautiful reflection of Jesus's own ministry. So much of his ministry happened relationally around the table. It's such a beautiful reflection of Jesus's ministry, and it's such a good relationship building tool. Obviously, this has been an unusual year in many ways. Even back in February and the beginning of March, when Pastor Levi and I were planning for this annual meeting day, it looks a lot different than it did then. Our vision casting looks a lot different. The plans that we had to share look a lot different. Many of them have had to be adjusted or postponed or canceled in some ways. It's been an unusual year. And one of the unusual realities that we've had to adjust to is moving to online worship for several weeks as a whole community, and in continuing to provide an online worship service. It is our prayer that this online service would continue to be a blessing, and that it would continue to allow people to be a part of worship, to be a part of the body of Christ here at St. Paul's in very tangible sorts of ways. A key vision and goal for us in moving forward is going to be to continue to look outside of our four church walls. We believe that God has planted St. Paul's in these neighborhoods for a reason, and we want to continue to dream and imagine together what it looks like to be good neighbors in this place. And so that's going to continue to be a primary goal and objective over this next year. In whatever we're doing, how can we reach out to our community? How can we be a blessing? How can we tangibly share the love of Christ with those around us? How can we partner with God in what God is already doing in this place? And so that is going to be a primary goal and objective as we look forward as a church family. You know, even though these are unusual days, we are trusting that God is still at work. Even when it's in ways we don't expect, God is at work. Even when our plans are disrupted, God is at work. Even when life looks very different than we had imagined, God is at work. And we are trusting that God has good things in store for St. Paul's Church, the Nazarene. We are so thankful for each of you, for your faithfulness, for your love for Christ, and for your community and one another. And we are so thankful for God's faithfulness over this last year. Though it's been unusual, God has been faithful every step of the way. And to God, we give all praise, glory, and honor. The next report comes from Pastor Jonathan, who has been serving as our associate pastor here at St. Paul's Church, the Nazarene, over the last year. We are so thankful for Pastor Jonathan and for his ministry here. He has been such a blessing in helping lead worship, in serving with the teens, and helping Pastor Levi and I in so many different parts of ministry. So we are so thankful for his ministry here at St. Paul's Church of the Nazarene. And we are also saddened to announce that Pastor Jonathan's last Sunday with us will be Sunday, August 16th. That is next Sunday morning. Pastor Jonathan has accepted a position at a Methodist church here in town as their youth pastor, and we wish him the very best. We know that God is going to continue to bless his ministry, and we are so thankful for the time that we have had together here, serving Christ and serving this local church. The next report is from our church board secretary. As many of you know, Mary Alice has been serving as our church board secretary so faithfully over the last 10 years. We are so thankful for her service. Many of you know that Mary Alice has moved recently, and so she has stepped down from her position of serving as church board secretary here at St. Paul's, but we want to thank her for her faithful service to St. Paul's and to God. Those who served on the church board this year were the following. We had Tim Allison, Randy Blevins, Karen Edmonds, Jeannie Hayes, Earl Johnson, Mary Alice Medley, Judy Myers, Everett Pruitt, Ron Spalding, and Christy Stevens. As you know, our Kansas City District Assembly was canceled this year. So was our original annual meeting back in May, which means we were unable to hold our usual church year elections. Our manual stipulates in the Church of the Nazarene that you have to be physically present to hold elections, and we were not able to do that this year. So we are, per the district's guidelines, we are asking that the existing church board serve one more year on their term, and then we will hold elections again next May. So those elections will be coming next May, but our current church board, minus Mary Alice, who has moved, and Karen Edmonds, who has turned in her resignation to the board, the rest of the board members will be serving for another term, and we are so thankful for their service. We want to thank Karen Edmonds also for her service as NMI president and co-leader of our women's ministries. She has done a fantastic job in both of these areas, and she has stepped down so that she can travel and do a few other things that she's been wanting to do. But we are so thankful for her leadership, her service. She has gone above and beyond in every way, and we are so thankful for her. We want to thank the church board for their faithful service over this last year. In the midst of these very unusual days, they have led with wisdom and grace. They have really sought to make the best decisions on behalf of our church family, and Pastor Levi and I are so very thankful for their faithful leadership in the midst of these days. Reporting for our trustees, we want to thank Ron Spalding, who is our lead trustee. He has led so faithfully in helping us maintain and upkeep our church property and facilities over the last year, and we are so thankful for his service. There was a lot of time devoted over this last year to cleaning up our church property, both cleaning up some of the outside area, the brush and things like that along the fence line, as well as cleaning up some of the rooms in our church facilities. We had monthly work days for several months before we had to stop due to COVID. And if you were someone who came and participated in those work days, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate you helping us be good stewards of these beautiful facilities and buildings that God has blessed us with. A big project this year was obviously replacing the church roof. We were able to replace our roof and it looks beautiful, and we were able to have a payment plan that we can afford monthly, and so it was such a blessing. God has provided each step of the way, and to God we give the glory. We are so thankful for the ways that God has and continues to provide for St. Paul's Church the Nazarene in terms of our property and our facilities. In our Sunday school and discipleship ministries for the 2019-2020 year, we want to thank Randy Blevins for serving as our SDMI director. He does such a wonderful job in helping organize the Sunday school classes and making sure we all have our curriculum. And so we are so thankful to Randy for his leadership and service in the area of SDMI. We also want to thank all of our Sunday school teachers. If you are someone who helps lead a Sunday school class here at St. Paul's, we are so thankful. Discipleship is such an important part of our mission, and we are so thankful for our leaders who pour their time, energy, and love into these ministries. We now have several Sunday school classes. We have 2 adult Sunday school classes each Sunday morning, as well as a teen, a children's, and a nursery. And then in October, we also added a young adult Sunday school class. So we are so thankful for the ways that God is working in our discipleship ministries, and we anticipate good things in the days to come. For our NYI annual report for the 2019-2020 year, we want to thank Judy Myers, who has served so faithfully as our NYI president. She has such a passion and love for our teens, and we want to thank her. We want to thank Randy for serving in our youth group, for activities and for teaching Sunday school. We are thankful for him. We are thankful for the ways that Pastor Jonathan has served with the teens over this last year. We've been very thankful for our wonderful, wonderful leaders. A few events were really exciting in the life of our teens over this last year. Back in July 2019, Judy and Christy took 6 young ladies from our church and from True Light Church the Nazarene to NYC in Phoenix, Arizona. And it was a wonderful week by all reports of God moving in tremendous ways in the lives of our teens. They participated in worship services and service projects. They spent a lot of time building relationships with one another. And we trust that this was such a formative time in the lives of our teens, and we pray that the fruit of this ministry will last for many years to come. The teens led us in a Make a Difference weekend back in September. This was a great service project that reached out to our community and also raised money for our teen program. In October, 5 of our teens attended a retreat with Christ Community Church and 2 other churches. In November, they had Breakaway, and we had 3 teens and 2 adults attend. And the teens also led us in the Hanging of the Green service at the end of November, which was a very special time for our church family. In December, the teens helped Christy and Kelly with the children's program. They did the Christmas Express, and it was such a wonderful program. We really enjoyed that as a church family. We did have 2 teens graduate from high school this year, Alyssa and Felly. And we also had one teen baptized this year. We are so thankful for the ways that the Spirit is moving in the life of our teen ministry. We are so thankful for our leaders. We invite you to continue to pray for our teens and leaders in the days to come, that God would continue to reveal God's self to them, and they would continue to respond to the movement of the Spirit. Our children's ministry report for 2019-2020 begins with a big thank you to Christy Stevens, Kelly Hoagland, and Jeannie Hayes. They have all helped and served in our children's department over the last year, and we are so thankful to them for their faithful service. Our children's ministry meets each Sunday morning during Sunday school, as well as several times a month for children's church. And one of those Sundays a month, the children go with Sharon Johnson for a special missionary lesson. One of the highlights of the children's ministry this year was the Christmas program, which I've already mentioned was the Christmas Express. We had 11 children and teens participate in this program. It was such a wonderful time together, a time of worship in which our children led us in the good news of the newborn King. We are so thankful to Christy Stevens and to Kelly Hoagland for all of the time and energy and love that they put into planning and putting together this Christmas program. I know it meant so much to our kids and teens, and it meant so much to our church family as our teens and kids were faithful to minister to us. Two of our children responded to the Lord in special ways this year. Kenna made the important decision to be baptized, and Christian prayed for Jesus to be Lord of his life. We are so thankful for the ways that we see the Spirit moving in the lives of our children. We're thankful for the ways that our leaders help point them to Christ each and every week. And we give God all the glory for the movement of the Spirit that we are seeing in the lives of our children. Our children also were encouraged to memorize the Lord's Prayer in Psalm 23 this year. And if they did that throughout the year, they got a special treat. And I know that was something that they really looked forward to. For my own daughter, Hannah, it was a highlight of the year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we have had to cancel all children's in-person activities since March 22nd. But we are so thankful for the ways that our children continued to help lead us in online worship by leading the Lord's Prayer, by leading a palm parade for us on Palm Sunday. They led us in the call and response of He is risen indeed, hallelujah, on Easter Sunday. And we are so thankful for their parents, for the ways that they continue to disciple them and help them to participate in the life of the church. One of the greatest responsibilities that we have as a church family is to disciple the next generation, to share with them the good things that we have seen in the life of God, the ways that we have experienced God, the transformation that God has made in our own lives. And we are so thankful for leaders that help us do that well as a church family. So thank you to our children's ministry leaders. Our NMI report comes from Karen Edmonds, who served as our NMI president. And as I mentioned earlier, she is stepping down, but we are so thankful for her faithful leadership over the last few years. She has really gotten NMI up and running and a lot of energy into it, and we are so thankful for that. The NMI Council for this last year consisted of Karen Edmonds, Mary Asbill, Donna Carroll, Amber Hoagland, Mary Alice Medley, and Lorraine Schneer. St. Paul's had 44 NMI members and 88 NMI associate members during this last year. The theme for NMI was Everybody Ought to Know, and Karen did a beautiful job of weaving that throughout all of the different activities and events and teaching opportunities throughout the year. Prayer was a key part of NMI over this last year. Prayer was incorporated in all of the services, in the missionary presentations, in our lessons and learning about what God is doing all around the world, and so we are so thankful for this emphasis on prayer. Another highlight was our mission book reading contest back in February. It lasted February 1st through February 28th, and we were divided into two teams, and it was a contest. And over the course of that, we had 37 people read mission books with a total of 172 books read. So it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot in the process. It was also a wonderful competition with the losing team having to serve as spaghetti dinner to the winning team. And so it was all in good fun, but it was a great way to get us engaged in learning more about what God is doing all over the world in the life of the Church of the Nazarene. One of the ways that teens were incorporated and children's were as well was Amber Hoagland served on our NMI Council, and so she was a representative on behalf of the teens and helped lead so faithfully and well. We are so thankful for her leadership. The children also had their monthly missions lesson, which was a wonderful time for them to see what God is doing and to learn about how God is bigger than just us here in this physical place, but God is at work all over the world. We were also able to give, as I mentioned earlier. St. Paul's is a very generous community, and we see that represented in our giving to NMI over this last year. We were able to give a substantial offering to our visiting missionary Faith Promise speakers. We participated in giving to the Alabaster, WEF, and Easter offerings, and to our Nazarene Compassionate Ministries and the Jesus Film Harvest Partners. We participated in REAP, which is the Raytown Emergency Assistance Program, by collecting items monthly. Our St. Paul's women also made 20 plus no-sew baby blankets to be donated to a local organization. We also had, with Christmas in July, we collected needed items for 60 persons at the Kansas City Rescue Mission, which is now called Shelter KC. It's been so wonderful to see how invested St. Paul's Church of the Nazarene is into giving to missions both here in this community and all over the world. And we want to thank you for your continued generosity. We also had the opportunity to host missionaries this last year. We had Bernie and Rhonda Slingerland who came, who served with the Jesus Film Harvest Partners, and we also had John and Vicki Moore come, who were serving in Australia. Also for one of our mission sites, we had Darla and Kathy, who visited Greek and Turkey, come to present slides, and they related it to Paul's second missionary journey. It has been a wonderful year in NMI. We are looking forward to what God is going to continue to do through St. Paul's Church of the Nazarene, as we see not only what God is doing in this community, but also around the world. For our Women's Ministries Annual Report for the 2019-2020 year, we want to thank Lorraine Schneer and Karen Edmonds for serving as co-chairs of our women's ministry. Our council included Judy Myers, Karen Spalding, and Sharon Johnson. We are so thankful to each of them for their faithful service and leadership in the area of women's ministry. To begin the year, surveys were given out to see exactly what was desired to see in the life of women's ministries here at St. Paul's, and they found that there were 3 goals. The first one was to provide opportunities for fellowship, to promote spiritual growth amongst our church ladies, and to reach out to our community. They had a lot of different events. The highlight of the year was the Precious Moments retreat that we had back in the fall. It was such a wonderful time. We had 11 ladies from our church attended, 5 from Carol Jones's church, and it was a wonderful time. We stayed in the Precious Moments motel together. We spent the day at the community center. We made crafts, enjoyed fellowship, good singing, and lots of good eating. It was a wonderful time of worship, of fellowship, of learning together. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time that we enjoyed. So thank you to the Women's Ministry Council for putting on that event for the women of this church. The women also provided cookies for the children's basketball practice on Tuesday evenings. We are so thankful for them. It was such a wonderful opportunity for us to open our gym and facilities to a local community basketball team. At times we had up to 60 to 80 children and families in our gym, and so that was really exciting, a great way to build relationships. And our women jumped in, and they were so faithful to serve cookies and treats after the practice for all of the children. It was a wonderful way to extend hospitality to people in our community, and we are so thankful to our women for leading the way in that. Our women also made no-sew baby blankets throughout the year. They provided over 20 to a local organization that gives them to new mothers. There were several events that unfortunately had to be canceled throughout the spring and the summer, but we are looking forward to what God is going to do in the coming days in the life of our women's ministry. Thank you so much to our leaders. Again, thank you to Karen for her faithful service in this ministry over the last couple of years. We are so thankful for the ways that we have seen God at work in the life and ministry of St. Paul's Church the Nazarene over this last year. We thank each of you for the ways that you have partnered with this local church and with God in the work and ministry here in this place and in our community. We look forward to what God has in store for St. Paul's in the days to come.